So Russia's recruitment tactics for the war in Ukraine have reached new extremes, reflecting the Kremlin's desperation to maintain its military effort despite the staggering losses they face on the Ukrainian battlefields. Now, early in the invasion, Russia lost many of its most seasoned troops. Some of its best special operators and infantry fighters were killed in just the first 6 months of the war. Then came waves of convicts, tens of thousands sent to the front lines with little regard for their survival. Now, in an even broader recruitment push, anyone who brushes against the law, owes debts, or is caught in a targeted sweep is a potential soldier now. Under the new rules enacted in October of 2024, recruitment can begin the moment someone becomes a criminal suspect. This includes individuals not yet convicted. Police now inform detainees that pending charges can vanish if they merely sign up to fight in the war. Among those drafted are suspects in major crimes, debtors with large balances, recent immigrants caught in raids, and even corrupt officials seeking a way out of prison. Take an example from St. Petersburg, where 2 men were arrested for smuggling 200 kilograms of cocaine worth $30 million in a shipment of mangoes, and they had their charges dropped after agreeing to serve as riflemen in the military. Cases like this are commonplace now, with local papers nationwide reporting suspected murderers, rapists, and thieves avoiding trial by heading to the front lines. As Russian military analyst Ruslan Lviv put it, quote, "They can kill people, rob banks, or commit other crimes and still end up in the war." Now, the Kremlin's effort to avoid a traditional draft have led to a fury of legal challenges. Just last month, a new law allowed debtors to have up to 10 million rubles, or about $100,000, in unpaid liabilities forgiven if they enlist. Meanwhile, raids at markets and transport hubs target immigrants, especially those from Central Asia who recently gained Russian citizenship. Many are handed military summonses when they attempt to register their paperwork, with some sent directly to training camps. The sheer scale of recruitment remains unclear, but traditional volunteer efforts are reportedly dwindling despite large bonuses. Analysts estimate that 30,000 new recruits per month were being drawn in earlier this year, and that number has been cut in half by December. However, criminals and coerced recruits are seen as a cheaper alternative anyway, as they receive fewer incentives than the civilian volunteers. Critics argue that this recruitment drive severs the link between crime and punishment. Olga Romanova, who heads Russia Behind Bars, a nonprofit advocating for prisoners' rights, believes this policy could have long-term consequences for Russia's already fragile justice system. She said, quote, "Prisons in Russia are some of the most horrifying places in the world," end quote, noting that many people just see the war as preferential to the alternative of going to prison. Even corrupt officials have taken advantage of the war to escape prison sentences. In Vladivostok, 2 former mayors and several other officials convicted of bribery joined the military to clear their record. Some of these elitist recruits end up in so-called luxury battalions who avoid front lines altogether while posing for photos in pristine uniforms and bribing their way into comfort rather than going to the front lines. Yet not everyone is spared the dangers. Among those coerced into service was Andrei Perlov, who is a former Olympic gold medalist and is now 62 years old. He is a prisoner in Siberia, and he was charged with embezzling $30,000. Now, because of this, Perlov is facing constant pressure to enlist. His family says investigators have suggested he just go to war to resolve his legal troubles, a prospect that his daughter, Alina, desperately opposes. She said, quote, "They say, let him go to the front. He's an athlete. He can handle it," end quote. It even has become a driving force to charge those that may not have actually committed a crime merely to bolster enlistment numbers. Arrests reached their highest level in 15 years in 2024, and it may not be because crime is up, but really, it just could be that the arrests are up, and the enlistment shortage could be an explanation. Even with these awful recruitment efforts, Russia faces relentless casualties. The human toll is exacerbated by the growing reliance on these untrained and unwilling recruits, people pushed to fight by desperation, coercion, or the promise of erasing their past. As the war drags on, the consequences of these measures will likely ripple through Russian society long after the conflict ends. We may see a generation of crime and violence embedded in Russian society, all because of what Putin has done to these people.